The New York Islanders got off to a hot start but couldn't sustain it. They fall to the Philadelphia Flyers to go 0-2 on this important homestand. We have our key takeaways from the game, including the controversial hit by Maxim Tysplakov. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here, and welcome everybody to the Friday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. I'll tell you, this team is frustrating right now. So frustrating. And why are they so frustrating? They cannot sustain effort. Effort is the one thing that an NHL team can sustain. And this is not a young, inexperienced team. This is a veteran team. These guys have been in this league, most of them, for 4, 5, 8, 10, 12 years. They don't need to be told, hey, big 7-game homestand coming up. We got off to a bad start Tuesday on this homestand. We're again playing a division rival or a team that we're fighting for the wild card spots with. We need to win. They don't need to be told. And they came out in the first period and played exactly the way you would want them to play. They were intense. They were physical. They were eager to play and skate and do the things that are necessary to play good hockey. And they actually took a 1-0 lead. And they actually scored not one, but 2 power play goals. First power play goal of 2025 since December 8th. 5 weeks of offers on the power play. And last night, they scored twice with the man advantage, something the Islanders don't do. Now, of course, they did also give up a shorthanded goal, so it wasn't all good. But 2 power play goals scored, no power play goals allowed. The penalty kill was perfect. I'm all in. I'm all in. That's a good day at the office for the Islanders. But then they couldn't sustain it. After you have that 1-0 lead, after one period, you come out in the second period, and it was like the Islanders were flat and lethargic. And you cannot play that way in the NHL and hope to win. And so in the second period, you give up 3 goals, you're down 3-1. They stopped being physical. They stopped going to the net. They looked absolutely lost. And, it was game over. I mean, yeah, they did score 30 seconds into the third to make it a 1-goal game again. But every time they do that, they give one up and boom, they never got the game tied again after it was 2-1 Flyers. Effort is the one thing you can control. They don't need a rah-rah speech from Patrick Waugh. They don't need people to explain to them the importance of the matchup and the game and the circumstances. Guys, I'll put it to you in your very own self-interest way. If you guys don't play better hockey, some of you will not be here anymore. And yet, they can't get it going. And the Islanders lose this game 5-3. Lots of poor performances. Let's start with Noah Dobson, -3 in this game. Yes, he had an assist. Yes, he had 7 shots on goal and 3 block shots, but boy, some of his mistakes just led to opposing goals. And he was the only guy back on a 2-on-1. And he just didn't do anything. When you're defending a 2-on-1, you've got two realistic choices. Number one is you play the pass, take it away, let the shooter go in, and the goalie handles the shooter 1-on-1. The other option is you try to dive or get your stick on or your skate on the pass and break it up so there's no shot at all. You know what Noah Dobson chose? None of the above. He basically just kept retreating and kept retreating. He didn't force the player with the puck to pass. He didn't try to break up the pass. He didn't try a poke check, and he didn't let the shooter just go 1-on-1 against the goalie. He just kept retreating, and bam, easy goal. Easy goal. Dennis Chalowski, 3 minor penalties in this game. I mean, when he was on the ice, he wasn't bad, but 3 minor penalties? He had 2 penalties all year coming into the game. Not a winning formula. J.G. Pageau and Anthony Duclair, both also -3. I'm not as upset at them. This is, Pageau's first game back after missing a few with an illness. Duclair already admitted, and we know he's not 100% coming back off the injury. So I'm less angry at them, but they're still not playing well enough. And let's not get started on Ilya Sorokin. He lets in 4 goals on just 23 shots. At least one of them was a soft goal. That's an .826 save percentage. You're not winning a lot of hockey games with an .826 save percentage. So here we are, 2 games into this big 7-game homestand. We talked about the Islanders needing 10 points in this homestand to really try to get themselves back into the playoff hunt. That would be, 5-2, 4-1-2, however you slice it. You need, I thought 10 points would be what they need. Well, now, if you want to get 10 points, you need to win 5 games in a row. I can't see this team doing that the way they're playing. So, again, the lack of effort, the lack of consistency, the lack of physicality and intensity, it's just too inconsistent, too often for this team to be good and to be a playoff team. And so, again, you turn around and you ask yourself, what now? What now? Because it's getting late early here, folks. We're just past the halfway mark of the season, and the Islanders keep falling further and further behind in the standings. I don't need to tell you that the Islanders are in trouble in the wild card hunt. They're in 15th place right now in the Eastern Conference, and they are 8 points out of a wild card spot. Yeah, they've got 2 games in hand on Boston, but they're 8 points out of a wild card spot, and they need to pass 7 teams to make the playoffs. They are 4 games under NHL 500 at home, 7-11-2. This team needs an attitude transfusion. They need to change their approach. They need to change the way they go about things, whether it's a leadership change or a chemistry change, or just to get a little less complacency out of this lineup. Something's got to give. It hasn't given yet. It's got to give. It's time for the Islanders to make changes because this team just doesn't doesn't have it consistently enough to make a difference. And it is so frustrating to watch them stumble like this over and over and over again because they can be better, but they're not. And this is what they tried after Barry Trotz left. You tried Lane Lambert, you tried Patrick Waugh. The results are more or less the same. You got to change the roster. There is no way around it right now because the one thing that they can control, the intensity level, not there. Not consistently. Not enough. If it is there, they're in real trouble because that just means they're not good enough at all. This team is not awful. They are not talent-wise, top to bottom, a bottom 5 team, but they're playing like it, and it's not good enough. We have got a lot more to discuss on today's show. We will talk about the controversial hit by Maxim Tysplakov that was not deemed a penalty after a review. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Saturday's game against the Sharks. We'll have a full preview. Plus, for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a native of Kyiv, Ukraine, who spent one season with the Islanders in 2007-2008. This big forward won a couple of Stanley Cups, but was a big free agent signing with the Islanders in that year. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got that and a lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win that first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered, and it's not just the NFL playoffs. Islander fans, use your knowledge of hockey and the Islanders to find some exciting opportunities on FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. So let's do the hero and GOAT of the game. You know what? The hero is going to be the power play. They scored 2 power play goals in this game. 2, one by Bo Horvat, one by Anders Lee. They haven't scored a power play goal in 5 weeks. Yeah, they gave up the shorty, but I still got to give the power play the hero of the game. As for the GOAT of the game, there are so many choices. So many choices. I don't want to go Dobson again. I'm tired of going Dobson, but yeah, he's a candidate. I can go Ilya Sorokin. One of those goals especially was really soft. He didn't play particularly well. But I'm going to give it to the whole team for their lack of a consistent effort. It goes from top to bottom on this team. And by the way, if you look over the numbers, it is clear Patrick Waugh does not have faith in this fourth line. And I know they were losing and but the fourth line produces so little offense right now. Matt Martin was on the ice for only 3 minutes and 48 seconds. Pierre Engvall was on the ice for a little more than 5 minutes, and Kyle McLean for 6 minutes and 44 seconds. Between the three of them, they had 1 shot on goal, 2 hits, 1 block shot, and 2 giveaways. And that's barely seeing the ice. Again, if you have that little confidence in those guys, you know what? There are plenty of guys down in Bridgeport who are more than willing to give you 8, 9, 10, 11 minutes on the fourth line who could do at least as well under the circumstances. All right, Maxim Tysplakov delivered a pretty brutal hit in this game in the first period. And look, when I first saw the replay, I thought that was a 5-minute major and a game misconduct and a possible suspension. Ryan Poehling did not return to the game. It clearly did make contact with the head. And it's the kind of play that the NHL wants out of the game. Now, they did the review. Much to my frustration, they did not show good replays on the TV broadcast to really show us, whether or not the head was the primary point of contact. The league reviewed it. They said no penalty, not even no major penalty, but no penalty at all. I thought it was a headshot. I don't think it was intentional. There is a size difference, and I don't think, Tysplakov is physical, but he's not dirty. And I don't think he went out there and intended to hurt or hit Ryan Poehling in a dirty fashion. I think the Islanders were fortunate with the call, but I don't like the way this was handled. And here's what I don't like. First of all, the Flyers did a very good job in many ways of defending Ryan Poehling. Okay? They went after Tysplakov right away. And I wish the Islanders would stick up for their teammates the way that the Flyers stuck up for Poehling. Now, they took a dumb penalty later in the game. So, that ended up benefiting the Islanders because, believe me, you can get your shots in, but don't take the penalty. But here's the thing. And I think that penalty kind of rallied the Flyers. And if I'm a fly on the wall in the Philadelphia locker room after the first period, I guarantee you that John Tortorella was yelling and screaming and carrying on about that hit and how the Flyers had to respond. And they rallied in the second period and did the job. I'm going to say something else that may not make a lot of sense when you first hear it, but I think it would have benefited everybody. I think Maxim Tysplakov should have just dropped the gloves. Maybe not right away, but at some point shortly after that incident. Get it over with. Stand up for yourself. Get it over with. Drop the gloves. Give some player on the Flyers their chance to say we defended our teammate, and then the incident is more or less forgotten after that. Instead, it kind of remained a motivating factor for the rest of the game. And the Flyers rallied around it, and the Islanders did not. I think Scott Mayfield at one point did step in and try to stand up for Tysplakov. But overall, the Islanders just did not handle this, I think, in an ideal fashion. And to me, you drop the gloves, you stand up for yourself. In hockey terms, that means it's over. Okay? You didn't like what I did. We have our disagreement. We drop the gloves. We move on. I guarantee you, the next time these two teams meet, there will be some messages for Tysplakov, and the Islanders darn well better have his back, because you cannot let your teammates be intimidated that way. And this team needs to stand up for each other better than what they've been doing so far in the first half of this season. Then they didn't do it well. I don't think they handled it the right way, but at the end of the day, if they would have won, I wouldn't have cared. But I think the Flyers used it as motivation, and it worked. And they won the hockey game. And the Islanders are now 0-2 on that vital homestand that we talked about, that everydayers know, we mentioned, was going to determine, possibly the future of this hockey team. So take it with a grain of salt, right? Take it with a grain of salt. One other thing I want to mention, but we'll get to it a little bit later on. And Saturday, big ceremony coming up. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from our hosts, Steele and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Saturday night is the Islanders' next game. They will be taking on the San Jose Sharks. There will be, before the game, a special ceremony honoring Brent Sutter and his induction into the New York Islanders Hall of Fame. We are going to talk more about that on Monday's show, but I did want to touch on it now. Sutter joining the Islanders in the 80-81 season for just 3 games, ended up being on Stanley Cup winning teams with the Islanders in 81, 82, 83, stayed with the team all the way through the 91-92 season, and then finished his career with the Chicago Blackhawks, one of the many Sutter brothers, and a great Islander. So we're going to talk more about Brent Sutter on Monday's show. But for the Sharks, it's a 7:30 Eastern time start on Saturday. San Jose, fresh off a 4-1 loss to Columbus. They have now lost 4 of their last 5 games. Look, San Jose is in a major rebuild right now, and they have been for at least the last 2 or 3 years. They are 14-27-6, or 14-33 on the season. They are 13 games under NHL 500. That doesn't mean they're not without talent, and they are more than capable of beating the New York Islanders if the Islanders take them lightly. They are 26th in the league in goals scored, 31st in the league in goals against. The power play is 24th, the penalty kill 19th. Overall, that is just not very good. But there's talent here right now. Tyler Toffoli leads the team with 16 goals. Mikael Granlund has 37 points. William Eklund, 34 points. And Macklin Celebrini, 31 points. He has been really, really good. And, watch this kid because he is still developing and he is going to be special. The line combinations for the Sharks: Mikael Granlund, Colin Graff, and Fabian Zetterlund are the top line. Celebrini, Eklund, and Toffoli are the next line. Second line, Alex Wenberg centers Luke Kunin and Will Smith on the third line. And then on the fourth line, it's Barclay Goodrow, Nico Sturm, and Ty Delorandrea from left to right. Jake Wallman and Cody Ceci are the top defense pair. Mario Ferraro and Timothy Liljegren are the second pair, and then Mark-Edward Vlasic and Jan Ruta are the third pair. The goalies, Alexander Georgiev and Yaroslav Askarov. Meanwhile, Logan Couture, Vitek Vanacek, Nikolai Kovalenko, and Klim Kostin are all on IR. Look, I'll be straightforward here. This is a game the Islanders have to win. There is no excuse for losing to a struggling San Jose Sharks team at home. This Islanders team has to be in full desperation mode in this hockey game. And there is no excuse for them not to be. You come out flat against the Sharks, they are good enough to beat you. This is an NHL team. It's not a very good NHL team, but it is still an NHL team. And the Islanders cannot take them lightly, and they have to come out and be physical and intense and want it. And it's Brent Sutter night, right? The alumni are going to be in the building. All those cup rings are going to be in the building. Guys, don't let Brent Sutter down. Don't let the alumni down. Do not let the fans down, and don't let yourselves down. Go out there and play your game, because if you do not, I'll tell you right now, you lose this one, you go on a perfect 3-0 homestand, and then you go 0-3, road trip rather, and then you go 0-3 in the first games of a critical homestand. Not going to get it done. Not going to get it done. This is a must-win game for the New York Islanders. Are they equal to the task? We're going to find out. We are going to find out. One other thing I wanted to mention, and this comes from Paul, who sent me a DM on X. And I like what he had to say, so I'm going to talk about this. Hey, Gil, I'm trying to spread the word to get shots added to the MSG Network scoreboard. I'd appreciate if you could help spread the word for all of us Ranger, Islander, Devil, and Sabres fans. You know what, Paul? I think it's a great cause. I think it's something that the network should do. Shots on goal should be up there on the screen. It would take them literally, a couple of seconds to set up and execute. And I think it's something the fans could use. So, Paul, thanks for that text. And I hope that we can spread the word and get MSG Network to put shots on goal on the scoreboard for all hockey games that they broadcast. All right. Time for our Islanders birthday of the day, and Saturday will be the 46th birthday of former Islanders forward Ruslan Fedotenko. The Tank, 6'2", 195 pounds, a native of Kyiv, Ukraine, made his NHL debut in 2000-2001 with the Flyers, won a cup with the Lightning, won a cup with the Penguins, played for the Flyers, the Lightning, one season on the island, then the Penguins, then the Rangers, then a second stint with the Flyers, finished his career after the 2015-2016 season in the AHL, played in 863 career NHL games, 173 goals, 366 points, 472 penalty minutes, add 22 goals, 40 points in 108 playoff games. None of those, unfortunately, with the New York Islanders. One of his better games as an Islander, a road game in Calgary on January 11th, 2008. The Islanders and the Flames, Rick DiPietro in goal for the Islanders, Mika Kiprasov, the goalie for Calgary. And in this game, with the score 1-1 late in the first period, our Islanders' birthday of the day, Ruslan Fedotenko sets up Trent Hunter to make it 2-1 Islanders. Freddie Meyer, the other assist. And then just a minute and 9 seconds later, Ruslan Fedotenko sets up Mike Sillinger, Trent Hunter, the other assist. Islanders up 3-1. But the Flames score 3 straight goals in the second period to take a 4-3 lead before our Islanders' birthday of the day. Ruslan Fedotenko scores late in the second. Marc-Andre Bergeron and Trent Hunter the assist. That sends it to overtime. The game goes to a shootout where the Islanders win it there on goals by Mike Sillinger and Richard Park. So the Islanders skate away with a 5-4 win over the Flames. Rick DiPietro, 38 saves in this one. Islanders outshot 42-25. But for Ruslan Fedotenko, he had a goal, 2 assists. He was a +2. He had 3 shots on goal and was on ice for 19 minutes and 30 seconds. So Ruslan Fedotenko, a solid second line kind of a winger. He is our Islanders birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, we are back on Monday. We'll have our key takeaways from Saturday's game, plus more on Brent Sutter night. So make sure you join us for that. And, have a great weekend. Now, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. If you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You can follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.